Part 1. Have you ever felt certain, absolutely certain, that you were right, only to later realize you were wrong? It might have been a conversation with someone you love, an assumption about a stranger, a belief you held for years, only to discover it wasn't the full picture. It's a humbling moment, one that can shake the foundation of how we see the world and ourselves. But it's also one of the most powerful doors to growth, because certainty can feel safe, but curiosity is where freedom lives. At the heart of this inner conflict lies a mental trap, one that affects every human being on the planet. It's called confirmation bias. And once you understand it, you'll begin to see it everywhere, in arguments, in politics, in relationships, in your own thoughts. Confirmation bias is the tendency to search for, interpret, and remember information in a way that confirms what we already believe. Not what's true, not what's useful, but what feels comfortable. The psychologist Peter Wason first identified this cognitive distortion in the 1960s. Since then, it's been studied, debated, and confirmed across countless disciplines. Why? Because it's one of the biggest blocks to personal growth, intellectual honesty, and authentic connection. But here's the good news. The moment you become aware of it, you can begin to transcend it. And that journey, the journey of opening your mind, starts right here. Part 2. Let's look deeper into how confirmation bias shows up in everyday life. You read an article that agrees with your opinion and share it. You hear a piece of news that challenges your belief and dismiss it as wrong or biased. You remember the times someone hurt you, but forget the times they showed you love. Why do we do this? Because our brains are not wired to seek truth. They are wired to seek comfort and coherence. We crave consistency in our identity, our worldview, our narrative. Anything that threatens that narrative feels like a threat to our very self. So what do? We filter, we twist, we ignore, we defend. Even in the face of evidence, we hold tight to the beliefs that make us feel safe. But here's the truth. Confirmation bias isn't a flaw in your character. It's a function of your brain. The danger comes when we become unaware of it. Because when we're unaware, we confuse opinion with fact and perspective with truth. We stop listening. We stop learning. We stop evolving. But there is another way. It starts with a simple shift. From I know to I wonder. From I'm right to what if I'm wrong? That small moment of humility, that's where your world begins to expand. Part 3. So how do we break free? How do we challenge the beliefs we hold, especially the ones that feel like part of who we are? It begins with intentional disruption. You must learn to welcome discomfort as a sign of growth. Start with questions that don't flatter you. When was the last time I changed my mind about something important? Do I seek out opposing viewpoints or avoid them? Am I learning or just reinforcing what I already think? Next, practice cognitive flexibility. This means holding space for multiple truths at once. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. Then comes the practice of constructive listening. When someone disagrees with you, don't prepare your defense. Prepare your curiosity. Ask them why they believe what they believe. Ask what life experience led them there. And listen not to reply, but to understand. Finally, seek out informational diversity. Read books from people you disagree with. Follow voices outside your echo chamber. Engage in dialogue that stretches your thinking, not just supports it. It will be uncomfortable. It will challenge your certainty. and it will elevate your mind. Because growth doesn't come from being right. It comes from being willing to be wrong. Part 4. Let's shift inward. Because the most stubborn confirmation bias lives not in the news you read, but in the stories you tell yourself about who you are, what you're capable of, what you deserve. You see, we don't just filter the world, we filter ourselves. You fail once, and your mind says, "See, you're not good enough." You get rejected, and it whispers, "You'll always be alone." Every negative experience gets collected into a story, and that story becomes your identity. But here's the truth. That story is not reality. It's a biased construction, built on selected memories, reinforced by emotion, and rarely questioned. If you want to grow, you must confront your own narrative. Ask, what beliefs do I hold about myself that might not be true? Where am I collecting evidence for failure and ignoring proof of growth? Am I defining myself by my past or by my potential? You are not your mistakes. You are not your trauma. You are not your worst moment. You are a being in motion, capable of rewriting, relearning, and rebuilding. But it requires honesty, bravery, and a commitment to challenge yourself with love. Because when you begin to question the way you see yourself, you begin to free yourself. Part 5. Now, let's talk about something even bigger than ourselves. Connection. In a divided world, where algorithms push us into echo chambers, and differences turn into conflict. Confirmation bias doesn't just limit our thinking, it limits our relationships. We stop seeing people, we see opinions, labels, stereotypes. But what if we chose something different? What if, instead of defending our beliefs, we explored the humanity behind someone else's? True connection begins when we drop the need to win and choose instead to understand. It requires empathy, the willingness to feel what another feels, even if we don't agree. Humility, the courage to say, "I might not have the full picture." Curiosity, the childlike openness to wonder, to ask, to listen. These are not passive traits. They are powerful practices that build bridges where walls once stood. And when enough of us practice them, our families, communities, and cultures begin to heal. Because the point of challenging confirmation bias isn't to be smarter. It's to be wiser, more compassionate, more connected, more human. So let this journey leave you with one sacred question. What else might be true? Because in that question is the beginning of everything.